especially now with guys that are so, I do this, I do that, I play this position. It's like, all right, well, what else can you do? A lot of guys preach one way stuff, and that's really, I get it. But if you know what each individual can do, now you can utilize them. Everybody can play a role, and then everybody can play. Just more guys can play.
Well, that's your whole off season. Your whole off season is getting to other games, other sports. What you do, not just be in the weight room, but what they're doing in movement patterns. It's you have to scrub your roster constantly. And when guys on any staff aren't coming in doing that, so let's say each one of you were the only guy in your staff in those, we won't call them conditioning, but those I get what I call more like power and mobility, right? Because we look at body types, and we've been going through this with kids. Like you get the guys, he doesn't go deep enough on the squat. I understand that. I said, but he's probably a longer body. His feet was probably, I said, but he's probably pretty good at pulling things. So let him deadlift a little bit more. All right. Because then he can stand up and sit down. So, and some guys just load the weight better on the front. What we're not trying to win that contest, but we're trying to find out things about our kids of what they can do. And I think you owe that to the kids. But if you're the only guy doing it in your program as a head coach, then guys come in, they start barking at kids. You're like, no, man, this kid's fully invested. We owe this kid. And, the answer is always this, David, this, right? Well, I don't know where to play him. When you're high school coach and the college guy says, where to play him? I don't know. Oh, he's probably a strong safety, Well, that means your whole team is strong safeties. And that's
my line.
That's the odd stack world of Joe Klaus. You got a lot of these guys, right? And then I don't know what to do in my offense.
Especially with that position actually being something now, that rover type guy is like what every defense.
Well, that's our whole team.
Around. Yeah, I get it.
We're like the Russian army. They're all the same guys, And then on offense, I don't know what to do with him. So you make him a detached tight end. Like he's our sniffer. He's a fullback. Would you stop?
Yeah.
He's a guard.
Just call it what it is. Oh, he's an H-back.
Yeah, he's a guard.
A guard who can catch the ball.
That's it.
In the run and shoot, he's probably a super back.
So. Right, because people say to you, why don't you play an attached tight end? I said, if you get me one, we'll play him right now.
Oh, man, that's a Matsakis line. That's a classic Manny Matsakis line. Yeah, it's like, Coach, how come you don't use a tight end? Well, if I had one, I sure as hell would use one.
Yeah, exactly.
So colleges say, because you brought it up, when they come in there, it drives me nuts. And I know Derek, it drives him nuts too, because I do a lot more like the recruiting side stuff now. And, when I coach with you and like the camps were all huge, but now it's a saturated world, right? So we don't run as many camps as we used to. But I'm constantly talking to college coaches, and it drives me nuts when they have no ability to see a body, let's say a 6'3", 200-pound body that can run. And they say, well, he's playing receiver and he plays like safety. Well, like, I don't know if he's going to be a linebacker. I'm like, yes, he is. Like the body type that can run that fast. Like, do they manufacture 6'3", 200-pound guys that can run a 4.5 just because he isn't playing? Like, think of where he's going to be able to play. And it drives me nuts because I just think that, until you get to the higher level, meaning like head coach, OC, all the guys have their position. They worry about that. And then they worry, if you're a recruiting guy, they get a template of here's what we're looking for in these positions, right? And the GA is going off that template, and anybody else that's not in that template, like literally in the garbage, right? So high school coaches end up saying, hey, I mean, you should be looking at this guy. And then obviously with the transfer portal, it allows them to go and just plug and play. Kid leaves school, plug and play.
Right. It's brutal.
We talk about this all the time because we never get to a solution on this, by the way. But
it's the ongoing discussion and debate of like, what do we do?
Like you're a high school coach. What is it you see that's like good about what's going on in recruiting? What is it that you see that's like bad about, like, is there a solution? Because you're great with solutions. Is there a solution to it? This is your crystal ball time.
Or is this just what it is? Is this what we're living in? Because we talk about it all the time.
I don't think so. I think it'll spin back. I mean, I just saw something today. You guys probably look at the Scoop constantly, right?
Oh, yeah. That's like the best site ever.
So the Notre Dame of Ohio, which is a Division II school, is closing their school.
Yep.
my high school basketball coach's son is the head women's coach at College of St. Rose up in Albany, and he had a great career as the Albany men's head coach. They're closing that school at the end of the year. And so there's not enough kids are not going to college in the droves they were, which to me is an interesting thing in itself. I have people that I've worked with say, well, they can become this craftsman or do this kind of blue collar trade. And I said, I understand all those things. I think those are good points. But I said, go tell a kid's family, and regardless of race, ethnicity, who's never sent a kid to college, that the kid shouldn't go to college.
Right.
And they're going to say, my kids, we're here. And so my kid has a chance to do that, and I'm not going to tell people what to do with their lives, but here's what happens when we go into the recruiting. First of all, our whole team can't play dead in the Western. All right. So we don't have guys coming in our place. We've had one full scholarship player since I've been there, and that was Sean O'Neill at James Madison. Kevin Barry ended up being a 3-year captain and a scholarship kid at Sacred Heart. And he probably, if Sacred Heart was a good place for him, he probably would have ended up in the Patriot League, but he tore his ACL his senior year in high school, never played one game. And then Timmy. All right. Now, David Estes is the best football player I've ever coached. And he went to Wesleyan in Connecticut because he's smarter than everybody else. He's like, I'm not for this nonsense. They're going to tell me I can go there for a blank amount of no money.
Yep.
Pay nothing. And that's all Grant. And he went there and had a fantastic career.
Coming out making $200 a year.
Yeah, so 2 weeks later he's working at a hedge fund,
right?
Which he has not contacted me on. I'm kind of wondering about that. I think he needs some money for that. So, but what happens is they come in and it depends on who's coming in.
Correct.
If he's a solid defensive coordinator guy, then I tell him, look, before we start, you're gonna go back and tell the coach this kid's terrible. But he really wants to go, so we're going to recruit him. He said, why would I say that? I said, so you can have my defense. You all do the same thing. Defense coordinators all do the same thing. Yeah, I don't know if he can really play offense. He's not switchy.
Right. He's more of a defensive guy.
I'll take him on defense. And then the kid ends up becoming an all-conference defensive player because he's lying to the head coach, right? So, because, they're going to go after kids in the portal that are on offense, right? Because that's glitzy when you need guys to play defense. But I think right now, there's guys that are plug and play in terms of their job too. They're running a lot of the same things so they can move to the next job, and they're on their phone like everybody in corporate America, seeing about where they're going to go next and how we're going to meet at lunch and do that, or whatever creepy phone stuff people do. But we've had
that conversation, right? I mean, we've had that conversation a ton about how these guys, the portal is such a big thing now because you can literally grab guys, plug and play, and because the whole, hey, I'm going to take this high school guy, he's going to redshirt. Now I got to develop him as a redshirt freshman. So you're thinking.
I think that's the Catholic school
down the road.
I think that's the Catholic school dilemma up here right now.
Okay,
is because that's the promise, right? And I wouldn't want to sit in their seat for a second. I have respect for those guys. It's a different meal being served.
Oh yeah.
That phone doesn't ever stop ringing for those guys.
Never.
And there's kids that are being very disappointed right now on what their options are. Doesn't mean they're a worse player, but they're probably they may even be thinking, I'm going to go do something for 2 years and transfer. I wonder when they're going to get a degree. The Division III thing is a Titanic.
Yes,
because
I feel it's horrible. It's horrific.
And it's a buyer's market now. I mean, if you have a kid with good grades, you just tell the kid, hey, look, man, you're a good player. They need good players, but they got to fill male beds.
Yes.
My college, Moravian, is a perfect example of that. I mean,
we sent a guy there.
Yeah. I mean, Moravian had an empty floor a year ago, an empty dorm floor. If you figure there's 20 people on there, it's $70,000 a piece. You do the math. You know how much money that you're not bringing in. So you're bringing in a lesser player at the bottom.
Yeah, because it's almost like you'll take anybody.
Yeah. Well, here's the thought for you guys. Every college has become a JUCO.
100%.
Yes, that's a great point.
Spot on.
Yeah. Every college has become a JUCO. And I hope that's not reflective of the kids that aren't playing anything, but
that's not a knock. That's just what this world is.
It is, but you got that better guidance in that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms
100%.
of-
But I also think there's a lot of other people above those guys in the D3 world that are pulling those strings.
yeah.
You know, I mean, look, I look at like
yeah.
my alma mater, Montclair State, right? Like the NJAC caps how many guys